Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the absolutely fascinating origins of one of history's most legendary monks and the mighty 500-year empire he supposedly came from. You know, when we think of ancient martial arts or Zen meditation, our minds almost instantly travel to East Asia, right? But what if the roots of these iconic traditions actually stretch all the way back to the southern tip of India?
Okay, so let's dive right in with a pretty captivating question. Who was the real founder of Chan, which is known as Zen Buddhism in Japan, and what kind of civilization actually produced him? It's this incredible story that connects a solitary, wandering monk to a massive dynasty of fierce warriors, brilliant poets, and master temple builders.
Enter Bodhidharma. According to historical records, he was actually the third son of a Pallava king. Basically, he left behind a life of absolute royal privilege, eventually traveling to Canton in China around 520 CE. Now, while Chinese historians still fiercely debate his exact southern Indian roots, his legacy? It's completely undisputed. His manuscripts are still preserved in the world-famous Shaolin temple today. He is credited with not just founding Chan Buddhism, but with literally introducing the physical and mental discipline of martial arts to the monks there. And to really understand the man, we kind of have to understand the empire that forged him, the Pallavas.
In the timing here, it's just absolutely fascinating. Right around 520 CE, when Bodhidharma makes his famous journey to China, the early Pallava kings were back in South India, setting the stage for a truly massive imperial dynasty. Their early rule started around 300 CE by a king named Simhavarma. But then, just decades after Bodhidharma's departure, a ruler named Simhavishnu takes the throne in 575 CE, and that officially kicks off what historians call the Age of the Imperial Pallavas.
All right, moving to Section 1. Origins of the Pallavas, a dynasty shrouded in mystery.
Seriously, historians still furiously debate where this royal family actually came from. There are 5 wildly different theories floating around. Some experts argue they were a branch of the Parthian people, so a tribe all the way from Iran who gradually migrated to South India. Others claim they were an indigenous mix of southern tribes. A third theory suggests they had a Naga origin, first settling near modern-day Madras. Then there's a much more romantic theory that claims they descended from a Chola prince and a Naga princess from an island off Sri Lanka. And finally, a lot of experts believe they were originally feudatories of the mighty Satavahana Empire who just migrated south over time.
But honestly, regardless of exactly where they started, the really crucial thing to know is that after the Satavahana rule ended, the Pallavas stepped up and asserted their independence. They moved into a region called Tondamandalam and set up this incredibly firm, unshakable base in Kanchipuram. From that specific capital, they would extend their power over the entire Dravida country. And this wasn't a short stint. They set up a continuous reign that lasted for a staggering 500 years.
Okay, Section 2, the Age of Imperial Rulers, 500 years of power, poetry, and warfare.
When you look at the early rulers, their versatility is just mind-blowing. Take Mahendra Varman I. He wasn't just a tough soldier who defeated enemies and locked down the kingdom. He was this versatile genius, a religious reformer, an architect, a musician, and a poet. He actually authored a famous Sanskrit play called Matavilasa Prahasana. And get this, that literally translates to drunken revelry. Imagine a fierce, conquering king sitting down to write a comedic farce.
And you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to physical power either. I absolutely love this detail. His successor, Narasimhavarman I, was widely known as the Great Wrestler, taking on the title Mahamala. He actually avenged his father's earlier military defeats by just crushing their bitter rivals, the Chalukyas, in 3 separate battles. That earned him the title Conqueror of Vatapi. So if Bodhidharma really did come from this specific royal bloodline, a total mastery of martial arts makes complete sense, right?
Later on, this incredible versatility carried right through the generations. Rulers like Narasimhavarman II enjoyed a relatively peaceful time on the throne, and that peace allowed him to pivot almost entirely from warfare to intense religious devotion in the arts. He wound up constructing some of the most complex, breathtakingly beautiful temples in Indian history, heavily supporting scholars, music, and dance.
Which brings us to Section 3, a hub of religion, Kanchipuram, the first among cities.
To really picture the environment Bodhidharma grew up in, just think about this number, 10,000. That is the massive number of Mahayana Buddhist monks recorded living in Kanchipuram by the 6th century Chinese scholar Huan Song during his visit. The city had 100 Buddhist monasteries. This lines up perfectly with the Buddhist origins of our legendary monk. It shows us that Kanchipuram wasn't just a capital, it was an absolute powerhouse of Buddhist learning and philosophy right at that exact moment in history.
But, the religious scene there wasn't static at all. It was incredibly dynamic. In the early days, royal patronage let heterodox religions like Buddhism and Jainism completely thrive. But fast forward to the 7th and 8th centuries, and the kingdom goes through this massive Hindu revival. The Bhakti movement pretty much takes over, championed by these singing saints known as the Alvars and Nayanars. They popularized Saivism and Vaishnavism, totally shifting the religious landscape of the entire South.
Moving to Section 4, Architecture and Global Influence, from Caves to Global Cultural Trade.
If you're looking for the start of Dravidian-style architecture, you literally start with the Pallavas. They built it from the ground up. Step 1, excavating these relatively simple rock-cut cave temples. Then they leveled up to Step 2, carving unbelievable monolithic rathas. We're talking entire chariots cut from single massive rocks at Mamallapuram. Finally, Step 3, they started building grand, freestanding structural masterpieces, like the Kailasanatha Temple. Buildings so stunning they literally left invading rival kings wonderstruck.
And they didn't just keep all this incredible culture boxed up at home. Just like Bodhidharma carried new ideas to China, the Pallavas became torchbearers of Indian culture abroad. Later rulers like Nandivarman III maintained a highly powerful, far-reaching navy. They were connecting Kanchi with places as far away as Siam and Malaya. That facilitated a huge global cultural trade, paving the way for massive cultural exchange all across Southeast Asia.
But as we know, Section 5, the fall of the empire, the end of an era.
The decline definitely wasn't an overnight thing. It was a brutal combination of multi-front wars. First, they were locked in these constant, grinding back-and-forth conflicts with the Chalukyas. Then you add emerging threats from neighboring kingdoms, the Pandyas, the Gangas, the Rashtrakutas, who were all just chipping away at their borders. The empire finally shattered in 897 CE. That's when their very last king, Aparajitavarman, was defeated and killed on the battlefield by the Chola king Aditya I.
So the mighty Pallava Empire finally fell to the Cholas, closing the book on an incredible 500-year dynasty. But it leaves us with this really powerful final thought. How much of this grand dynasty's legacy survives globally today, not because of their massive stone temples or their fierce wrestlers, but simply because a single prince named Bodhidharma decided to walk away from it all and travel to China? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other ancient empires live on right now, hiding in plain sight within the martial arts, meditations, and daily routines we all practice today?